Hello, everyone, and welcome to ESC United's live stream Mattitude, where we talk about, you guessed it, right, Eurovision. And I don't have to do it alone. Of course, if you don't know it, I'm Matt with ESC United, and I got to my right, I'm always getting confused trying to point. It's Roy PM's YouTube channel. How did you survive last night? Did you manage? Did you get out of it okay?
I mean, there have been way busier nights, luckily. So last night, it was also quite separated from each other.
Yeah, it was very layered. Like, you know, like it's like they all called each other. Okay, Moldova starts, then what was next?
Serbia started.
Sweden.
Oh, yeah, right.
Sweden, and then Serbia and Iceland started, but Iceland only had 5 songs anyways, you know, and then Portugal started like at 3 a.m. So it was, you know, very nicely layered, and that makes it a whole lot easier. So we got a lot. Again, we had 5 shows yesterday, and then we had 1 show before. And of course, as always, we got to dissect, talk about it, and judge everything because, you know, we're superior. And then, of course, we always love to hear from you as well in the chat. And I have my my moderator there. Thank you so much for always doing such a wonderful job. If you want to help out as well, because I always feel bad leaving it on one. I've promoted a few people, but they're not always around. Let me know. And you can also help out as well. And when you talk to us at ESC United in the chat, if you want to support us, you can do that via Super Chat, or you can become a member here on YouTube as well as on Twitch. We are on Twitch as well, live streaming as we are talking. So you choose what feels best to you. And by the way, once we go through all of the shows, we'll have a little open Q&A session, as always, at the end as well.
Sounds great.
So, are you ready, Roy?
I am very ready.
Okay, I think we should start with the songs that were chosen last night, because we had a total, well, 3 finals yesterday, and then 1 final the night before, and then 2 semis as well. So let's go through the stuff that people want to hear about first, and those are the songs chosen. I think we should start with Serbia. Serbia is one of the countries that had their final yesterday. They had their 2 semis throughout the week, actually, a little different than a lot of others. And then yesterday they had the full show. So from each semi, we had a bunch of songs qualifying 8 to be specific. And we had a pretty busy lineup in the finals with the 16 songs. Let's go for them really, really quick. And of course, I always want to help you to remember who performed. So here's a very quick recap.
Bili srećni i ona i ja. Svako živi život najbolje što zna. Nekome je majka, neko maćeha. Ja bit ću dobro, možda si prvi najsadnji jednog dana. Biće mi smiješno sve što radim, ali svaki put kad vreme menja se, duboko meni se naće sva. Hej, neka, 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 ja te volim iz daleka, tebi pišem, tebi pevam, ja bez sebe nemam strah. Hej, neka, 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 šta te to na meni, mami, maš tu golicami, tako ne stvaram psihani, igraj zumi, zumi, zumi. Šta te to cię, bez ciebie Takie kraj, każą lećce Zatwaraj prozore Noće dana da sama si moram da znam Posle mene ne vreme
Okay, so there you have the 16 songs that were in the running. And of course, once they've all performed, we had first a jury vote and then the televote. And interestingly enough, the winner of PZE didn't win the televote, didn't win the jury vote, came second in both groups, but that was enough because there was some disagreement between those two groups. We all know by now that it was Luke Black with Samo Mi Spava winning, therefore going to Liverpool. Now, Roy, he was, I think, fair to say, the fan favorite, the one that people were rooting for. Of course, there's always a wide range of opinion, but I think the consensus was this was the fan favorite. Your thoughts when that one won? Were you surprised, relieved, or just more like, yeah, duh?
No, honestly, like I saw that lobster on my timeline about 17 gazillion times or something like that. Like that picture of him with the lobster and his head. So it was definitely one of the fan favorites. I think they made a good choice here. It's a different song. It's very interesting, very daring. But I do think it is a cool song that could really stand out in the lineup. And, you know, there were other options as well. Like in general, I think Serbia had quite a strong national selection. Like there were about 7 or 8 songs that I could have just easily seen going to Eurovision and do well there. So Serbia, hats off. Like that was a strong selection. And it's a cool song that won in the end. It wasn't necessarily my top favorite, but it was like my 3rd favorite or something.
Yeah. I think it was also, I'm very happy with the choice as well. I think what Serbia will do with this is, again, kind of like last year, not comparing the songs in style-wise, but it's a little bit more of a risk. Because Constructa, I think, was the risk. Could have flopped if people didn't click with it. If it was performed by a less charismatic singer, whatever it may be, right? So there was a risk involved, and I think it's something similar here. You can make a case that Luke Black needs to a little polish his staging and his voice and the whole package, and I think that is a fair thing to say. That being said, on the Eurovision stage, I think they have plenty of time to fix that. I think that they absolutely made the right choice. And in hindsight, some of my favorites would have not been good choices for Eurovision. I don't think, I'm not saying this song is not a good Eurovision song, because whatever is popular, you know, they send. But in terms of what a song can do, ending up higher up on the scoreboard, or at least making it to the final. So I think Luke has really good chances of going far, especially, I mean, I was going to say especially with only televoters, although he did get also 2nd place with the juries, which was a big surprise. I'm not sure, Roy, did you look up the semifinal results at all?
I saw a few things coming through. He was like 6th in the semifinal or something.
Yes,
right?
He got 2 points from the juries and 8 points, so 3rd from the televoter. So he was only in 6th place out of 8 that qualified.
Yeah.
So
Mad.
something happened in between the semis through the finals that the juries in particular, but even the televoters to a certain extent were like, okay, this is a grower, right?
Yeah, the thing is, if I remember correctly, they changed jurors for the final.
Yes,
so like the ones that were judging in the semifinals were different than what they had in the grand final. And, you know, last year as well, Constructa, I don't think won the semifinal she was in. but then ended up winning in the end. And both of those songs are kind of songs you need to have a bit of time with, perhaps, or maybe just to listen to it for the first time, be like, okay, that was nice, and then the second time it hits a bit more and you like it a little bit more. So maybe that's what was happening. And yeah, it happened last year, but not as extreme as this year. So it was a bit odd to see that, to be honest.
And it's very important to point out those are different juries that were there, but still, it is quite a dramatic difference that just shows that I think maybe Luke's song is a little more polarizing. But and I know it's like a broken record, it's not always a bad thing, because again, you cannot vote against the song. The other thing that some people were surprised, I'm not sure if you're on the same page, Roy, was that Luke Black, now in hindsight it makes sense, but last night, that he did not win the televote either. That, how do you pronounce it, Prink or Prince?
I would assume Prince. I don't know.
Yeah, so he won the televote, even though it was by less than 300 votes. So it was a tiny margin, but nevertheless, he didn't win. Was that a surprise to you, or can you see why Prince won?
I can definitely see why it won, because it sounds like a bit more of the songs that we used to see from like Bosnia in a few years back, and from Serbia as well. Like, it had the Balkan sound. It was very fun. He was very charismatic as well. I think it was a very slick performance as well. And I think it's just a bit more accessible than Luke Black's song was, perhaps. So maybe if you didn't see the semifinals, you might have a bit more immediate impact with Prince's song. But I do think this was the better choice for Serbia than Prince's song. But yeah, it was a bit surprising, but I can also see why.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And by the way, everyone in the chat, if you have a question specific to Serbia, songs that you want to ask or say, statements at ESC United in the chat. Roy, I know you said that you like Luke's song very much. What's like in your top three? Yes. If it was Roy's Serbia national final, who would have been the winner?
All right, so Luke Black would be my third place. I think my second place was Zipsy with Gre. I know that is not something that the masses would love, and it would probably not do that well at Eurovision. I mean, it did quite well in the results. Like, I got third in the televote. But yeah, that was my second place. And my favorite was actually the jury winner, Nada, with a very difficult title. Yeah, I quite enjoyed it. It was very cute, very, very nicely sung, nicely staged. It was just nice.
That is so sweet because, again, doesn't scream Roy favorite. You know, when I listen to it, I'm like, that doesn't sound like something Roy would embrace. But clearly, you sometimes do surprise me after all. I was the Gypsy thing. I know that became like an online favorite almost. I saw a lot of people talking about that one. The song itself to me was just okay, but there was something about Gypsy.
Yeah, exactly.
That was you just like, this is an artist. This is a unique personality, and I couldn't keep my eyes off of him. And that's what you need. And I'm hoping he's going to be back at some point in the future and try again with another song, because I think star quality is there. It's just coming up with a song even that maybe even more accessible. We're going through some other ones. Emily's saying, I'm getting, if Croatia 2019 The Dream and a little bit of Norway 21 went to side of the dark arts, you'd get this. Which one? Is it like the Prince we're talking about? No, we're talking about the winning song, Luke Black, I think. I'm trying to remember. Oh, The Dream. Oh, God, the angel. I don't want to talk about that. That is still, I still have a little PTSD of that from that one. Luke Black, Stefan Schei, Zipsy would have been more than content with those three. We talked about Luke. We briefly talked about Zipsy. How do you feel about Stefan Schei, the first song of the night? My personal opinion was, it's a really good song, actually. I really couldn't get past his low energy. And it's like, seems kind of unfair just to point, it's even a thing, right? Like, for some people, it's appealing. But for me, it's like, I get distracted if I don't feel engaged. Like, you don't have to be Zipsy, like, wee, but you have to be at least a little bit more engaging. And the swag was missing. I can't think of a better word.
I guess the name of the artist fits it then, like Stefan Schei. But yeah, to be honest, I couldn't even really properly remember what song that was when he made that comment. But yeah, it was there. It wasn't one of my favorites, I would say.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I would have given it, like, wasn't my top 10 that night, but I don't know how. I didn't rank them all. I just know that my personal favorite, Luke, did end up on top. I like Prince actually as well. I do think that Luke is a better choice in terms of getting some more good results home at Eurovision, because Prince is probably a little bit on the safer side, but he sings so well. I love the staging, and he has the best hair this year. So that's like something like, wow. Everyone in the chat, I would also like to hear from you in just a second. But first, I'm going to ask Roy. Serbia in semi one, first half. A lot of people are considering this the tough semi.
Yes.
We still have a few songs to go. We don't know everything, but we always do that based on your current gut. Is Serbia a qualifier? Yes or no? And everyone in the chat, please do the same thing. Yes or no?
I wouldn't say a sure qualifier, but I do think it has a more or a bigger percentage of qualifying than I would say to non-qualify. So for me, qualifier.
Qualifier. I will read some of his. I'm just going to no. Yes, 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 no. No, yes, 100%. Yes, 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 yes. So I'd say a few dissenting voices, but for the most part, it seems like an 80-20 kind of setup, saying yes. So people feel very confident about it. I think Luke needs to get his, when I say act together, that sounds so rude. I mean, like, need to polish what he has done in the Serbian national final. And if the voices and the visuals come together, I am leaning towards a likely qualifier. I think that Serbia has a really good shot at qualifying. If it were up to me, this would fly through. Like if it's Matt's song contest, yeah, absolutely. See you there. That is very important. And one important thing that somebody pointed out is Serbia typically qualifies with the televote. So I say yes, that is true. Because Serbia has a little bit of a diaspora vote, if you will. However, they have Croatia, obviously, they get a lot of points from there. But who else is there? Often you get like votes from like Austria and Switzerland. Switzerland is in there. Some, that kind of stuff. But I think the friendlier votes are not as that represented in the semi in particular. So I don't know if they're going to have that to count on. But I hear what you're saying. I do think even though the juries and the televoters both gave him second place, it seems like they agree, I still think it is more of especially on an international level, more of a televote pleaser than a jury pleaser. Do you agree?
Yeah, definitely. I think when it gets to the grand final, I'm not sure if there will be that many jurors who will rank it very highly. So I do think it will qualify, but what would he do there? I'm not sure if it could break into the top 10, especially since so far this year, we've got quite a lot of contenders for the top 10, in my opinion. So, I don't know. I don't see this necessarily doing too incredibly well with the juries, but hey, prove me wrong. I would love
Neither did Constructor. She didn't do horrible. It certainly dragged her down a little bit, right? So
exactly.
Yeah, it comes down to will Luke be as successful with the televoters? Thankfully for them now, there are no juries in the semis. Therefore, that kind of could work in their favor. Smoothie is asking, did you have Hurricane flopping on the cards? Roy, did you think that Hurricane, because that got hardly any points in, I think I got 1 point from the televote, and that's it.
But was it the same Hurricane, though?
No, it wasn't the same Hurricane. It's three new girls, but the sound is still the same. They're very popular in Serbia, and, they got a bit of a hype in the bubble as well.
I mean, I might not be the best to ask because both years they were my bottom. But
oh, really?
I never really saw much in Hurricane, to be honest. But I don't know, flopping, maybe I didn't see that coming. But also, was the song that amazing? Like just Zumi Zami? I don't know. I get why I didn't do too well.
The thing is with Hurricane, I actually like their music once. Do you know what I mean? It's a kind of song, it doesn't have a longevity. The second song that actually went to Eurovision was probably my favorite, but Hasta la Vista and this one, I enjoyed them. I'm like, oh, this is a nice song. And then I listened the second time, I'm like, okay, this is getting old quickly. And I think that is the problem I have with their music. And I would have loved to have, I think they call it turbo pop there. That genre wouldn't be interesting, but I think lyrically, I would hope more than just singing about your own band name. So that is always a little bit odd. What do you think, Roy, about Roomba? if Zayn had won last night, would she have been in the top 10 in Eurovision? You know, the last song of the night. Boom, 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 ba-ding, beam, boom, ba-dum, dum, dum, da-ding, ding. You remember that song, right?
Yeah. Oh, definitely, I do. I don't know. I don't think so. I didn't think she was that strong vocally, if that makes sense. I don't know. It didn't necessarily pop out to me as one of the favorites. So when I heard that it was one of the, not necessarily the big frontrunners, but it was definitely one of the ones people were talking about, I was quite a bit surprised, to be honest. So I don't know if that would have done top 10 at Eurovision. I would incline to say no, probably.
Yeah. I live in the past. So I always have a soft spot for like 90s and 2000s retro music, and Roomba was absolutely retro like that, right? And I, as a jury, I would have downgraded it quite a bit because of the very silly lyrics. Roomba dum, yet yeah, I wasn't home afterwards singing. Roomba dum, dun, dun. You know, it's that kind of thing, and I'm like, stop it. And so I absolutely see the appeal, and it was absolutely a fun song. I do think it wouldn't have been the right choice for Eurovision. Again, it is a little bit in the past. And when I say in the past, I always say there's a difference between retro and outdated to me, right? You can go retro and still kind of feel relevant.
Yeah.
But if you go dated, then, you know, that can be a little tricky. So when I feel that one, unfortunately, falls under that. And if you watch my initial video, you know how much I love that song because, you know, I just had so much fun with it. But Luke was probably always my favorite. So I hear what you're saying. I don't think, though, it would have done a top 10 at Eurovision, right?
No.
That's fair to say.
No, yeah, that's definitely fair to say. Like I began with the statement that like a lot of these songs would have done well at Eurovision. Like I could see a lot of these songs qualify, and Roomba would probably be one of those as well. But top 10 would be a bit too far for that song, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. So yeah, that is what we're going to have now with Serbia. We're going to have Luke Black representing the country and hopefully make it to the finals again. As pointed out, a lot of people think semi one will be the tough one, but Serbia has a pretty darn good track record when it comes to qualification. The last time they did not make it, when was the last time they didn't qualify? I know in 2017. Was it the last time? I think so, right?
Yeah, I think so too.
So, yeah, and that was also a super close one. So Serbia, I think you're going to be okay. And if you want to talk more about it, of course, can talk about that at the end as well. But we got a few more shows to cover and only so little time. Let's talk about another country that had a national final yesterday, and that was Moldova. Moldova had a national final. Etapa Națională, something like that.
Close enough.
They had a very long, lots of 30 songs in like a live audition round, and finally just narrowed it down to 10 songs. All of them performed last night, and then the juries voted, and then the televoters had their say, and then we had a winner. And of course, we got to talk about it. And before we do that, though, let's take a look at those songs real quick as a quick reminder.
Today I wake up while you play it cool. While you play it cool. I wanna dance with you tonight. me, mommy. You got me running. Butterflies in my tummy got me spending all the money on you. Got me, mommy. You got me running. Butterflies in my tummy. Soarele, soarele, soarele și luna. Nocturne, nocturne, nocturne cu luna. Soarele, soarele, soarele și luna. Nocturne, nocturne, nocturne cu luna. When love's real, so real. Could be the story that begins today, but you'll never know if you throw away something real.
Okay, so those were the 10 songs that were in the running. And by the way, two things. Number one, always big thank you to Mr. Juvici for always putting up those recaps like before they are even done performing. It's amazing. That helps us out a lot. And of course, in Moldova, those who watched the show live, they may have noticed there was a lot of lagginess and crashing going on. So some of these clips are a little laggy, as pointed out. Roy, did you watch it?
I didn't get to watch this show. I only really saw the results because it was a bit too early on the night for me. But I did see all of the. Yeah, I know.
All right, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just doing something. No, but I did listen to all of the audition tapes when they were revealed, like the ones who went through. And yeah, I overall think it was quite obvious to see that there was going to be like 4 songs that were standing above the others. And I think overall they made quite a good selection here. Yeah, Moldova.
I think I briefly talked about it on Twitter that Moldova is frequently overlooked by the fans or by the mainstream, and just to surprise us at Eurovision. And one thing was very interesting. They had 3 returning artists in the running in Moldova, and it seems it would be a battle between those 3 returning artists, actually. And Moldova has, the last time I sent a new person was in 2019, actually, interestingly enough. Yeah. But it was a battle apparently then between Aliona Moon, who represented Moldova in 2013 and was the backup singer in 2012. Then Pasha Parfeni, who represented, it's the opposite, in 2012 and was a backup piano player in 2013. And then Sunstroke Project 2010 and 2017. Best result for Moldova, yet a 3rd place. Although they got rid of one of them. They didn't get rid, he left the band. So those ultimately actually ended up battling it out. Pasha Parfeni came first with the juries, 12 points. Aliona Moon came second with 10 points, and Sunstroke Project third with 8 points. Then the juries came in, they gave 7 points to Aliona Moon, 10 to Sunstroke Project, and then 12 to Pasha Parfeni, which means Pasha won and will go back to Eurovision after 11 years with the song Soarele și Luna. And we got to talk about this first. By the way, the other act that was just even in the contention there was Suroile Osuianu, the 4th song of the night, who came 4th and got 3rd with the televoters. So it was basically those 4 acts that
Beautiful.
I know, right? Hey, I tried. The ladies. So those 4 were the only acts that were really in contention here, clearly. So let's talk this through, everyone in the chat and us as well. But let's go. You had first, Roy. Your thoughts on Pasha Parfeni winning in Moldova?
Yeah, I think it's the right choice. Like Sunstroke Project, it was just a bit too cringy, a bit too like, yes, it's nicely produced, it's fun, but it just wasn't as good as Hey Mama was, or even as good as Runaway was. Same kind of goes with Aliona Moon. I think On Me was an incredible ballad, and I think this was just a bit too repetitive, just a bit too much of the same thing going on. While she is a good performer, I will give her that.
Beautiful voice, yeah.
100%. I would rather see her come back next year. Although I wouldn't mind having a new artist either, because I always like
everyone. At least every few years, give us a new one. I know.
Exactly. And usually I'm not the biggest fan of returning artists, but I think Pasha Parfeni's song this time around is very much different than what he did the other time around. So I always applaud that when they just go for something totally different than what they did before. And yeah, he overall performed it very well. So I'm very curious to see what they will do with it, because knowing Moldova, they'll stage the living hell out of it, and it will look amazing, and they'll go through to the final. yet again, while everybody
Yes.
says it's not going through. And yeah.
Yeah. It sucks. And then they get second in the televote.
And then I'm like, told you so.
Told you so. I cannot wait to say that again. Now, so no, I bet. So I went into the show yesterday actually blind. I had no idea. I didn't watch the songs. I did not know what was going to happen. So that was my first impression. And I watched. And I was like, it's Pasha. Like, it would be silly picking anybody else at this point.
Yeah.
I agree with you. As much as you want to like Sunstroke Project, it seems a little like, let's try the same thing again, just switch up a little. But it became a little. Fabricated almost. And I just didn't think it wasn't. I mean, I even called it Yummy Mummy or Yummy Mommy. I'm like,
it's just a bit too silly.
Yeah, it's good. And
like last time was silly, but it worked.
Yeah, it seems a little bit forced on this one. Didn't feel natural. Aliona Muna said she has the most beautiful voice, but I will say, because I know there was some hype around, like, I didn't share that. The song to me was bland. I was like, I was bored by it, and I don't think this would have had the impact at Eurovision. Pasha certainly has the most impactful song, and this, as you pointed out, has all the potential to have an amazing staging. It is mysterious, it is dark, it has a very unique feel and vibe to it, and that is what you want. You don't want to just blend in, you want to stand out, and I think Pasha will stand out. And that's also very interesting. Oops, that was actually not the comment I wanted to get. It just moved up. This was the one I wanted. Fun fact, Parfeni is Sunstroke Project's first singer. Yeah, so when the band first got together, Pasha Parfeni was the lead singer, but he left before he had even before 2010, right, when they performed at Eurovision. I knew that, actually.
Interesting.
So, it's Moldova, the music scene can be so big, right? It's a tiny little country. So if that would have been, again, Roy's Moldovan national final, you would have picked Pasha as well?
Yeah, easily. Yeah, I mean, it's just a good song, and like you hear it now in this potato studio filmed on another potato, and it just doesn't look that great or sound that amazing. But if you hear the studio version, it's a really, really good song, and we always underestimate them just because the quality in the selection might not be as good as we're used to. But then when you get to Eurovision, when everything is the same quality, they always outshine them. So
yeah, I'm
excited.
Moldova is so good at Eurovision. I mean,
the best.
Yes, they flop every once in a while. Like even a song that was highly unpopular, like 2019, when they brought back the Sand Lady, right? Even then, they were this close to qualifying because they make it work. So,
exactly.
We don't have many ethnic songs yet, except Spain and France, maybe. Also, now Sunstroke Project didn't win because now Malta's The Busker won't be overshadowed with Sunstroke Project. I think that's a good comment. First of all, the ethnic sound certainly can work in Moldova's favor. And it's not even comparable to Spain because it's a very different ethnic sound. So it's not like they cancel each other out. And I am glad now that they point out, because I'm a big fan of Malta this year.
Same.
Are you? I'm like, I don't know why I didn't watch the national final or any of the songs before the national final. And I'm neither. Why people are poo-pooing on all this? This is a fantastic song. I
love it too.
Yeah,
it's very solidly in my top 10.
Yeah, I haven't done a top 10 yet, but I can see it being in there easily as well. I mean, there's still song music to come, right? But we shall see. But yeah, so of course, let's look at it. Moldova. Very important to point out, is in the, again, this is subjective, but in the difficult semi one in the second half. They don't have their buddies Romania there, so but they've done it without Romania. Obviously, they don't rely on them anyways, because you see the track record. So everyone in the chat, and Roy, of course, as well. As of right now, what's your feeling? Is Moldova through to the finals? Yes or no, Roy?
I don't think this is as clear as Serbia, because the heat is quite strong. But knowing Moldova, knowing they will elevate it, just kind of already trying to envision how the staging will look like, I think yes.
Okay. The chat says yes, 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 no, obviously, yes, yeah, yes, 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 yeah, no, yeah. So I think 9 out of 10 say yes.
Interesting. Didn't expect that many.
I am not surprised, because I will agree with the majority here. Just based on track record alone, Moldova just know how to stage it. And if anything, Moldova Pasha's song could potentially have a hard time getting passing the the jury hurdle, because I could see some juries now. But since we don't have them, I feel like this is such a good televote song, because televoters often like that kind of music.
Yeah.
I see this one actually flying through. But it's tough, because this right now, not even like going for each country, just other vibe right now. This is indeed a competitive.
Incredible.
Yeah, because some of the countries that you didn't think would delivered.
Yeah.
Right, there will, but others, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if they're gonna make it. Not that I'm going to talk about your country, Roy, here, but it is definitely going to be a little bit more interesting. Any questions about Moldova? At ES United in the chat, of course. I like that Seluna is ethnic, but not in the typical way Moldova makes ethnic entries, rather than upbeat and goofy, like Subseat Soups, and have this dark foreboding feel. I think that is a very good comment, because it is a very, it's ethnic. We already agree all of that, but it has, besides that, it's not just ethnic. It has a very unique vibe. Like, it will create an emotion that some songs are just like, there, it takes you out of the lineup. We don't know who's going to perform before or after Moldova, but I feel like that alone will set itself apart. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, definitely. It's also the type of song that we've seen it in a national final of like Estonia before, like a very haunted, like spiritual kind of song, even nearly. So I can definitely see other countries vote for it as well. So yeah, just a good selection.
Sina's asking, the song could do a shum in the final, Ukraine 21. I will say the songs are very different in vibe and feel. I understand the ethnic part of it, but I think Moldova cannot count on, because it's a very different vibe and feel. So I think they need to embrace more the darker vibe of the song, while Shum had more the beat and the excitement. You know, it goes really fast and gets your heart pumping. This song does not have that particular vibe to it. But can you see the comparison? Could you see that happening to Moldova?
Honestly, no. No, because like Ukraine was a really, really, really well produced, like just a techno banger. It was just amazing. And this leans more towards the pop side. Like it feels a bit more like pop with like ethno banger direction in that, basically.
Yeah.
So I don't think it stands out that much that it could do a shum. It will do decently well, but I think in the finals it might struggle to get points with the juries.
Well, here's a question for you, because if
Okay.
anything, I could more compare to France of last year. Fulham was also more of a darker beat. You think it could be more hit or miss there as well? Like, people really like it, and then the vibe at Eurovision just is not coming together?
I think it was a bit different though, because I get the comparisons, but I just really trying to remember last year's song now from France.
The guy with the three girls? Fulham?
Yeah, I remember the staging and whatnot. I don't know. I just, in general, that song just kind of fell a bit flat with the staging, and it was a bit more towards the rocky side of the spectrum. True. And this is a bit more towards the jumpy up and down party vibe. So I described it very well, I think.
Yeah,
so I think it just has a bit more broad appeal than what Fulan had.
Fair enough. One more question here. I don't see you say Moldova has always a surprise. I was surprised to always sing good songs, good stage, and good singer. That's exactly what we're saying. And we're saying that people always see Moldova as a surprise when they do well. And we're saying people continue to overlook Moldova because they have such a good track record, especially for God knows how many years. Yes, they had the boo-boos in between as well, just like any country. But for the most part, they've been fairly consistent, especially with the kind of resources and budget that they have. Granted, in previous years, they've gotten support from Russia, which, obviously not going to happen now. But still, they're still being creative. So I am very, very hopeful about Moldova.
Yeah, like last year, people were laughing at me when I made my reaction video to the song, and I said, this is definitely qualifying. People were literally laughing at me saying, oh, this is no way qualifying. It sounds way too old. It's not good enough. And I was like, just wait and see. Moldova's going to qualify. And I told you so. They qualified and did incredibly well.
Yes, absolutely. And as said, we can answer more question about Moldova at the end as well, but we got to move on to the next country real quick because we had more shows. Iceland. Iceland's song Vakeppnin. They had their final with Shut up. Had 5 songs in the running last year after 2 semis, and ultimately, just like everybody else, they chose an act. They had 5 songs, and out of the 5 songs, 2 went to a super final where it was 100% televote. And before we discuss the winner, let's do a very quick look back at what we had in the running.
All dressed up in red, baby, don't forget, you're not the one and only who's out there dancing lonely when he holds my hand. You're still in my head. You're not the one and only who's out there.
Carry on through every storm. I promise you, I'm here for you when days go cold. Carry on, we'll make a home.
Doomsday,
Dancing through the dawn,
pump up the pretense.
there's nothing wrong.
Doomsday,
Dancing on the floor.
keep it moving till you can move on. I got my power in my hand. You hold no power over me, and I take my flight.
Oh, okay. 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 Fint er det hafa sem flest af hreinu og gott að gleyma ekki neinu yfir
So as you can see, those 5 songs performed, and we don't have the breakout between jury and televote yet, but we do know that 2 of the songs, the last 2 songs of the night, moved on to the super final. Delia and a band with, do I have to say the name, Roy?
Yes, you do. I would love to see you try.
Langi, Seli, og Skugarnir.
That's better than I
So,
expected, to be
I should have just
honest.
said the name of the song. Okay.
Okay.
Power and UK. Okay, those are the 2 songs. That why did I didn't do that? So
Power
anyway,
in
so
UK. Good job.
I know, right? And they moved on to the super final where the televoters had their final say, and ultimately it was Delia with Power winning it all. Again, we don't have the breakout of the results, but we do know she got the most vote. Therefore, gonna represent Iceland in Liverpool, and she will be in the second semifinal in the first half. So we got to talk about it. Roy, I'll let you go first. Your thoughts on the winning song in Iceland?
Yeah, I think this was the right choice. Again, they made a lot of right choices last night, so that was really cool to see. I think overall Iceland had a bit of a miss year this year. I don't think there were that many very strong songs necessarily. So when it came down to OK or Power, I pretty much had a preference, and that was definitely Power. And I'm very glad that, like somebody already commented it, there were 260,000 votes cast in Iceland, which is an insane amount. But
They
I'm
didn't even have
glad
that many
they-
people. You know, it's, I mean, I know they get to vote more than once, but still, that is
Exactly. It's insane.
mind-blowing. It's like everybody voted.
Yeah, and I'm glad that Delia did end up winning with Power, because one, young artist, always great to see them represent at Eurovision and have them the opportunity to skyrocket their career perhaps, and it was just a better song.
Yeah, I mean, I will agree with you. I think it was more of a miss year overall for Iceland. There was not one
Yeah.
song that I was like, oh my God, rooting. But I think out of the songs that were available, Delia was by far the best option, the only option, I want to say. So I'm glad that she won. And maybe that song will grow me. It's not a bad song. It's a nice song. It's just, you know, I'm worried it's a little bit on the, I'm not comparing it to Paper from 2017, but in terms of like the overall mass appeal, I think it has a similar kind of feel to me. So I'm a little worried about Iceland, but I still think yes. And I love oldies. I love good, like even Elvis inspired rock and roll. I loved Francis Jr. song this year. Okay was not okay. So I was really, that was just not okay. And I was so nervous, actually. I'm like, I mean, if it wins, it wins, right? But I've been like, oh God, because I'm always trying to put a positive spin on a song, you know, find the good, but I would have struggled a little bit coming up with, you know, I could have pointed out like, oh, it's an oldie and, you know, it represents a different genre, but it would end there.
I'm just stuck with this image in my head of like them performing at Eurovision and like they're singing okay, and then every single time before okay, you are standing somewhere in the arena saying not, and then they
Not!
say okay.
Okay.
It's a very funny image.
We were like, okay, not. But yes, and it's nothing against the band. I'm sure there are people who like the song. By all means, you're allowed to vote for it. Just based on my presentation, I find that song really more like going to a concert down by the beach here, and a random local band just playing. Okay, and sometimes that local song can have its charm, but I just don't think this one really had it, in my view. Oh, I wanted to bring that. I meant to say that after the recap, actually. It's very interesting. I'm not sure if you noticed. At one point, they showed the winners, Finland, Norway, Denmark, and for Sweden, they showed Loreen. And they made a mistake by showing her as the winner when she hasn't won yet. I saw that. I didn't know what they were saying. But I saw, why are they showing Loreen in Sweden, who hasn't even won yet? It's like, it seems a little like hyping partisan. I don't know what that was. So that really confused me. Did you notice that as well?
Yeah. I mean, it's nearly as close as the representative, but it's not done yet, guys. There's still hope, I guess.
Hope, or, there's still...
There's still a competition, basically.
And even if it's obvious, it's still kind of like weird to do it. I'm sure it was an honest mistake, though. It seems like it. I don't know. But I also made other mistakes. For instance, during the recap, one of them, they showed Delia's the number wrong. I think they gave her the number
I
01,
that
right?
too.
So people were like, well, if OK would have won, I think people would be like, it's because of that. So I'm almost glad that didn't happen. She won anyways without it. So that is interesting. Let's go through this again, everyone in the chat first. Iceland now in the second semifinal. Roy and Chad, yes or no? Are we going to see Iceland perform again in the final? What do you think, Roy? I'll go first since you're taking forever. I will say I right now I am saying no. I just don't think that it is. There are other songs I just feel. There are some good positive surprises so far in the second semi to me, although there are also some boo-boos. But I still feel as Iceland is an uphill battle in my view.
I think I will go to your side and say no as well. And I think what hurts them the most is being first half here, because if it was second half of the semifinal, especially with televote only, I think it could sneak through. I think it is really against the odds right now for Iceland to qualify.
Yeah. So we'll see, though. Maybe people disagree. The chat says yes, yes, yes. No, no, no. Yes, no. 50-50. You guys are not helping. Maybe. Yes, 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 yes. Maybe. No, no, no. No, yes, borderline. So it seems as it's split in the chat. It's 50-50 in terms of Iceland's chances. I'm not completely certain for Iceland either. It's just a hunch right now, a vibe. A gut feeling, but we don't
have the full lineup yet either. So
still
many songs that could completely change the entire landscape of this year.
Absolutely. So don't give up hope just because it's our first initial gut feeling. This is what we have with Iceland. And even though we did have 2 more shows yesterday, I want to first go back to another song that was chosen Friday night, not on a Super Saturday, but a Lonely Friday, if you will. And that was Germany. Germany had their national final, and I better know how to pronounce that one. Unser Lied für Liverpool. Yay. And they have chosen a song. And once again, before we even go into discussing it, let's talk about the 8 songs that were in the running. Frida Gold, by the way, who was set to perform, couldn't make it because she was sick, unfortunately, therefore not in the running. But here are the ones that did make it.
Just give it your mind and show them that smile. Just give it a try. I hate the way you build me up to knock me down. 90 you shot me, left me on the ground. I heard that someone else is buried in your arms. I hate the way you only Show me how to hold on. Show me how to fight my way home. Show me how to fight my way home. Show me how to shine bright now. Let's shine brighter. Shine bright now. Love only guide us. My melodies of hope. Fill the sky of the darkest night. See how we shine.
Wir brauchen endlich mal ein Lied ohne Saufen. Wir brauchen endlich mal ein Lied ohne Sex. Wir brauchen endlich mal ein Lied ohne Drogen. Endlich mal ein Lied mit gutem Text. Und der geht los.
Blood and glitter, sweet and bitter. We're so happy we could die. Blood and glitter, saint and sinner. We do fall before we rise.
So it's pointed out 8 instead of 9 songs in the running, and the results came in, half of it from the juries, which was an international setup, kind of what you see in many national final these days. And then, of course, the televote percentage-wise. So if you get 20% of the vote, you get 20% of the points. And ultimately, it was quite an outcome, because the winner, the landslide winner of the juries, was Will Church with Hold On. Then Annika Russo was second, Renee Miller was third, Trong was fourth, and Lord of the Lost was fifth. And then it seems as it seems like probably Will Church is the one to beat. But then the televoters came in. They put Will Church in 5th place. And they put Lonely Spring in 4th place, Petty Gertie in 3rd. And then there's a huge gap. And they put Ike Hüftgold in 2nd place with 101 points. And then the winner of the televote was Lord of the Lost with Blood and Glitter, only 146 points. I'm kidding, of course. And ultimately, that was not even it was beyond enough to take it off. So therefore, Lord of the Lost, Blood and Glitter, the German public had it their way. Will go to Liverpool for Germany. Of course, Germany does not have to worry about qualification from the semis. They are a Big 5 country. So we got to talk about this. Roy, before even talking about the song, when you saw, did you watch it? Did you watch it live?
No, I watched it back the day after.
Oh, but you knew already the winner?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so you were not as I watched it live, and I was like, I was like, Blood and Glitter would have to really, really win the televote. And we all were thinking Ike Hüftgold will be potentially the televote winner, and we didn't want that to happen. A lot of us. Some, of course, look, he came second in the televote. So I was almost giving up hope for Lord of the Lost at that point. But I did a little reaction video on YouTube on that, and it was as genuine as it gets. I was like, because I'm going to be honest, Blood and Glitter was my favorite. I did a ranking before, and I was like, it had to win. So when I saw the juries, they went with the 3 ballots. They really wanted another ballot. And Germany always sends, not always, but for the most part, look at the last year. Slow songs. Yes, they picked internally a silly song in 21. But other than that, every time there's a national final, slow ballads, sad stuff, even when it worked, good songs, it still tends to be on the slower side. So I am over the moon. Blood and Glitter, to me, is by far the best choice. And I think Germany had a solid national final with plenty of other decent options. But I was thrilled that Blood and Glitter pulled it off in the end. And as much as I wouldn't say I was rooting against Will Church. I was more rooting for Lord of the Lost. In hindsight, I was looking back, it is actually a really pretty song. But he only came fifth with the televoters, and I think it would have done really, really well with the juries at Eurovision. But so people can make a case. Lord of the Lost will do really well with the televote, but flop with the juries, and then Will Church vice versa, based on even what we saw in this national final. So it was just a big mess, in my view. I was just like, oh my God, I really need time to process everything that happened. So, Roy, your thoughts while I'm even still gathering my thoughts. Lord of the Lost, Blood and Glitter. Did Germany make the right choice?
Easily. When you just watch the songs live, I agreed with you with the studio versions. I thought Germany had quite something going for them. I think a lot of them lost their edge quite a lot when they were performed live. I think Trong was the biggest surprise to me. That was really he elevated the song quite a bit, so I kind of like that one as well. But if you really look at it, the two best songs were Ike and Lord of the Lust. And I hate to say it because Ike was not my favorite going into it at all, as in my second last. But like that looked good, it sounded good, and it would have been sendable and it would have avoided top five or bottom five perhaps. But I'm very glad they went for Lord of the Lost. It was easily the best choice. I will say I can only think of what would have happened if Frida Gold was there. I don't think she would have had the televote pulling power either, but I think that was really the best song in the selection.
Oh, really?
So yeah, so that's a bit unfortunate, but Blood and Glitter, yeah, definitely the choice for Germany. I'm very excited for them. It's cool. And another metal song. Hell yeah, let's
And
go.
it's so outside of Germans' comfort. I mean, not clearly comfort zone because you see the people, but in terms of Eurovision, it's outside their comfort zone from what they usually send. I remember last year the terrible national final, like we need radio-friendly music because that is and they're just like last place. I hope they learned their lesson here. I think even if Germany ends up underperforming, I think they realize they are on the right track, and Germans are actually really, really excited about this. And they're saying, if we flop, at least we flop gracefully. That's kind of like what they're saying. And I think they're absolutely right. So, is there another song? I mean, now Frida Gold, obviously not in contention, so putting her aside. If Lord of the Lost said, "Hey, we don't want to do Eurovision," who would you pick as the second option?
Ike.
Is there one?
Yeah, and I hate to say it because it's a terrible song, but it worked decently well live, and it was quite fun in the end, and like he performed it quite well as well. And think of the man what you want, but honestly, it was probably maybe third best. Trung was good as well, but it's just a bit too cliche, perhaps. So maybe that wasn't my choice. I think Will Church is just going too much the same direction that Germany has already gone the last couple of years, and it's just Lord of the Lost. Like that was the choice, and it also shows in the future perhaps that also songs that aren't just a typical ballad could win. So maybe next year they have another national selection, and maybe they'll have even more variety and even better examples of the genres that were there. Because to be honest, Misfit wasn't sung by the best band. Lord of the Lost could use a bit of improvements here or there as well, but yeah, overall good decision.
I will say, and we got to talk about one of the other fan favorites. I think even the betting odds, they were at some point at least, or she was at the top, was Petty Gertie with Melodies of Hope. Clearly wasn't her best night vocally, and I had problems with the staging as well. So I was certainly underwhelmed with that. And we may not be the best panel right now here, Roy, because correct me if I'm wrong, but neither of us had Patty even initially high up in their ranking, right? To me, it was probably even my second to the bottom. And yours was pretty high. Patty, right?
It was my least favorite. I totally didn't get the hype at all. It sounded like literally this song could have competed in like 1995 or something. Like it would not misstand there necessarily. I just didn't get it.
Yeah, I didn't. I mean, in terms of like, I get it in terms of like what they were trying to do, and I get why people liked it. But I had the same hang up with it. And I don't know Petty Gertie's music like this outside of this song, but
it's a bit different too.
Yeah, it just seems like very catered to Eurovision. And even though it may not be unauthentic, but it came kind of like, I'm trying to do Eurovision. They like these, instruments, a hurdy-gurdy. And I just thought the lyrics were very banal and, Melodies of Hope. And it didn't click for me either, but it was my least favorite. I didn't click with it as much when I saw the live performance. I certainly, I wasn't surprised. I figured. But I thought it was going to win actually initially, but then I saw the performance. I'm like, not going to happen. Yeah. Emily Freeman says, even though this is not for me, the song, I really like the band, especially when they said the vote for who you like. I'm super happy for the German Eurofans about this. It is adding diversity. And that's the kind of thing, if you cannot, no song is universally liked, even like the classics like Euphoria. There are people like, it wasn't for me, but I can appreciate the quality and the staging there. So I'm glad you feel that way. I'm just glad that Germany goes with something different. And keep asking your questions about Germany at ES United in the chat. I know they don't have to qualify, Roy, but
Yeah.
think about it right now. We don't know who's going to qualify from the semis. What potential does Germany have in the final? Could they make the left side of the scoreboard? Are they doomed for another bottom 2 or bottom 5? As of right now, what is your gut telling you?
Top 20.
Top 12. Well, that is a pretty wide.
Yeah, I know.
window there. Top
It's not gonna be
25.
tough. It's not gonna be. It's not gonna be the top 10. I don't think so. There's just other great rock bands and Finland that will steal a lot of the votes that they would normally pull, and I think Germany is just the weakest of those. But it will still get some votes. It just won't be enough to really get high up on the scoreboard, I think.
Mhm.
But it's not going to be necessarily last. So
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be
improvements.
bottom 5 this year.
No.
I do think that Germany has to overcome the juries here again. Could they pull a Finland 21? Where it comes like 11th or 12th with the juries, and then does like top 5 with the televote. You don't think so?
Absolutely not. No. There's 2 other songs that could do that much better. Like,
But we said the same thing about 21, like Italy and Finland.
no.
will cancel each
That's
other
totally
out.
different. That's totally different.
Yeah.
That was comparing a rock song to a metal song, which is very different. This is literally competing for the same spot. I mean, yes, within
Well,
metal,
Finland is
there are
also not,
different
because Finland
genres.
has very poppy sound to it as well. It has a pop aspect to it.
This year, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
true.
I'm sorry,
Like-
you're talking about last year. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned Finland earlier as well, so I wasn't sure which year you were.
Yeah, no, I get the confusion. No, like Finland will be a bit of a different thing this year, but like Australia fully outshines Germany in nearly every aspect. But perhaps the staging could help Germany a bit more. But we'll see about that, to be honest.
I mean, they're going to be visually more popping, right? Could you not like necessarily in a lordy sense, but certainly, it is more down that route.
It's going to be different visually, because I
Yeah.
think Germany will be a bit more light, and especially with that amazing breakdown that Australia has in there, I think they go a bit more for the harder, more darker, and a bit more flashy staging. So they will stand out in that regard. So
Yeah.
let's see.
What I'm still actually, now that I kind of made fun of you for saying top 20, I will agree. Top 20. I think Germany has potential to make left side of the scoreboard. I think it could happen. I think it really comes down to, how it'll come across. If the jury's going to completely drown it, then maybe not. But I could see a top 10 in the televote. And I think it could be enough to be pulled up that way. So it's a little tough. We don't know the competition yet. Who's going to be in the finals, but that's how I feel. Let's see some questions in regards to Germany. As much as I would have liked the return of German in Eurovision, sending a dude who has done blackface isn't worth that. So I'm glad. I don't know anything about that. So I cannot really comment on any sort of blackface. But what I can comment on, I understand what you're saying, Roy, like it's a second favorite. And somebody asked in the chat as well, how would have Ike done in Eurovision if he would have won? Ike is very specific to German, the Ballermann music. Yes, maybe a few points from Austria and Switzerland, and maybe some neighboring countries that have some exposure to it. So I could see Germany not completely flopping in the televote, but it would be a bottom 3 with the juries. And there would have been no way they would have overcome that with like a Moldova 22 sort of comeback in the televote. So I think Germany probably would have looked at a bottom 5.
Yeah.
What do you think, Roy?
I think so too. Yeah, I think that song would have gotten last place in a jury's televote. It would definitely get some from the Netherlands as well, because we like ourselves some carnival music that's like quite similar to that.
Yeah.
So I think it would get some votes indeed, but not necessarily enough to really make it go places.
Yeah. Do you agree that Annika was robbed by the public? Annika was the song that was the third of the night, Once Upon a Dream, with the staging in a field, playing the piano and walking around. How do you feel about that, Roy? Do you think she deserved more? Because she got she had last place with the televoters.
Yeah, that's a bit harsh. That's definitely a bit harsh. I get it. Like, it was a bit of a slow ballad kind of song, but last place was way too harsh for her. She performed it quite well, I think. I do think it was maybe a tad bit empty as well in places. But last place is definitely a tad bit harsh for the German audience, to be honest.
I was thinking if, like, for me, if wouldn't have been Lord of the Lost, I would have picked Annika. To me, the strongest ballad. But that's
True.
I felt a connection there emotionally with it, and she sang it well, and staging to me was good. It just was completely for me, so I was saddened that it would come so low in the televote. She came second in the jury, actually, so I'm glad that at least prevented her from coming last. She came in 6th overall. But yeah, I agree. Germany, you got Lord of the Rings right. Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Lost right. But you got Annika wrong. How dare you? Schämt
Exactly.
euch. Schämt euch.
Genau.
Genau. So yeah, so that is Germany, and we're super excited that Germany is at least sending something that people are excited about. And one thing I also want to point out, I thought was really cool. Apparently, Malik Harris, who came dead last year at Eurovision, actually has a pretty decent and nice career now in Germany. Like, he's high in demand, putting out music that talked about that. And he said, certainly not the most ideal outcome in Eurovision, but it just shows that winning isn't everything. The position that you end up at isn't always everything that you should be looking for. Like, I need to win or else.
Yeah.
And I think he has such a wonderful. Could you imagine coming last at Eurovision and the next year showing up at he was quite featured prominently there, right? And he was such a good sport. And they showed this new song, which I thought was actually really, really good. And so I was very happy that he is succeeding making music, because he is good. It's just the song to me wasn't that good actually last year. But that's just a personal note there. All right. Again, any other question? I cannot talk today. Questions about Germany? We can also answer them at the end, but we got to stay on schedule for a little bit because we got to talk about the semifinals that we've had, basically, starting with Sweden. Sweden had 4 heats already. We're almost done there. I said each heat, the 4 heats, 2 songs moved on to the grand final, and then 2 other ones went to what they now call the semi, which used to be the second chance round. Yeah, well, it's no longer called Anderschancen, but that's, I don't know why they feel like that needs to be called a semifinal. It's like less condescending, because Anderschancen second chance because you sucked the first time. So they called it now a semifinal. And those 8 songs battled it out, and then ultimately the top 4 moved on. And I have a lot of thoughts about it, but before we go into that, let's remind us real quick the 8 songs that were fighting for the remaining 4 spots. That was the wrong clip. Let's pretend that didn't happen. I actually have the final lineup there. I don't have a recap of.
I was about to say.
Tone was demoted to the second chance round.
Exactly.
No, so I'm going to play that clip in a little bit. So we just have to talk about it. And yeah, I uploaded the final lineup, which we're going to talk about in a second as well. But Sweden had 8 songs in the running. And I'm just going to tell you who was in there. Scroll. The 8 songs were Theos, Dick. He came from the second semi, I think. Mariette, we've known her. She took part. It's a 5th time, I think. She made first time that what's the 4th time?
4th time.
Yeah, she first time that she had to go through the semifinal, second chance round. Usually she goes directly to the grand final.
Did she go through the round as well last time?
Yeah, she went directly through.
Really?
Yep, 100%. I remember that because I was actually a bit surprised.
Yeah.
Victor Krone, we've seen him a few times, but this time he was in the semi. Tennis Tears, Elof and Benny, Melanie Weber, who actually co-wrote the winning song by the Mamas, Move. Nordman, a famous band in Sweden, as well as Kiana, Where Did You Go? Now, the results, the way they were presented, especially for non-Swedish speakers, was highly confusing. Did you watch it, Roy?
No, because
okay.
I had to record my video still.
Boring.
My first opinion of
the
song,
I don't want to hear the
watch.
excuses. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to talk about it.
Okay.
So the 8 songs competed, and then everybody voted in one round. And then once the voting is over, they announced slowly the current top 4. And then people got to vote again. And then they announced the winner of each age group, like the age group 3 to 9. The favorite one was, I don't know, whatever. And then, and then they showed the act and it was like, yay. And then the end, they played the suspenseful music and who actually ended up on top. And in the end, Theos, Mariette, Nordmann, and Kiana went through. That means Victor Krone, Tennessee Tears, Elof and Benny, and Melanie Webb are out. As a matter of fact, Nordmann won. They got first place, followed by Theos in second, Kiana in third, and Mariette in fourth. So those 4 went through, and they will now join the lineup. And before we talk about that one, Roy, the outcome. Yes? No? Okay?
Yeah, I quite like the songs that they picked. I also get why some of them were in the second chance. Like Mariette's song, I get why it might not necessarily be enough to go immediately through. The Tennessee's Tears would have been quite fun to have in the grand final as well. But I mean, I get it. I mean, none of these songs are really going to win, which, I mean, one of them might be one of my favorites. But hey, it's just a nice little fun addition to the final, I guess.
Yes, that is true. And that's kind of what it is. Plus, also one thing we need to keep in mind for us, like, well, they're not going to win Melodifestivalen anyway, so why bother? But Melodifestivalen is more than just going to Eurovision. Yeah. Actually, oftentimes more people watch Melodifestivalen than Eurovision, and these acts, you know, they're going to hit the charts, a lot of them, because just taking part in Melfest. So it's more than just Eurovision, and they all are aware of that. But our international brain is like, well, you're not going to win, get out, you know. So it's, you know, a little silly. So I personally had my 4 picked. Half of them made it through. The other half did not. But it was expected. I enjoyed Elof and Benny, as childlike as it was. It was the more fun entry. I wanted Tennessee Tears through as well. And they came in 5th. So it was close. It's the younger folks who don't get that kind of music, and they kicked them out.
Yeah.
I wanted Nordmann through. Yes, it's kind of Schlager, but it's very Swedish. But I find it charming because it felt very like something you want to see it from Sweden. And I like that they would send something more, I don't want to call it authentic because it sounds always patronizing towards like Swedish pop, which is, you know, they have great Swedish writers. So I don't want to talk down the other ones. And then Theos was actually very surprisingly fun to me. It wasn't a perfect song because the part always bothers me, but it was just fun Swedish pop. And so I'm glad that they went through. So you said Tennessee Tears would have been your favorite, but it wasn't like you had a strong feeling towards most songs?
No, that was not my favorite. But I would have wanted that one through over, I don't know. I think I would have had Mariette not make it. Although that also feels a bit wrong. To be honest, like 4 of these, I prefer over some of them that made it already to the final. So I would have already made some different choices in the other heats, if that makes sense. Yeah.
So we should certainly talk about that because, as I said, now that these 4 songs are in the finals, now I get to play the clip I was just trying to put on because we have 12 songs now from 8. 4 more, 12 songs battling it out. This is not in the running order. This is in just, you know, the semifinal order, basically, a heat order. The 12 songs that will battle it out in Sweden.
It's the rhythm of my show.
There you have it. One of these songs will go to Liverpool. We got to talk this through here. And obviously, anyone who looks at the betting odds, if you look at any fan polls, it is Lorraine's show to lose. I think she was, last time I checked, at 77% of a winning chance, and the hype is real. And we're here to talk about, is the hype appropriate or no? I did a video earlier this morning that is up on our channel on ESC United. Roy, I think you said you uploaded something as well on Roy PM's. Right?
I just recorded it before the live stream started. I'll probably have it uploaded tomorrow.
Tomorrow, okay. Make sure to subscribe to Roy's channel as well, Roy PM,
Roy
so
PM.
that you see it when it's out, because his opinion is always really bad. So you do want to, Now we're going to talk about this. So putting your personal taste aside for a moment, Roy, or our person, because I don't even know where you land on this, and I don't want to spoil your video too much. Although it's a different audience, so maybe it's not too bad. But I
don't mind.
Do you? And what?
I don't mind.
Okay. What do you think that Lorraine is truly the one to beat, or is there a little bit too much of a hype going on? You think this is?
I mean, it is 100% the one to beat. It's not the one I would pick, but it is the one to beat.
Yeah. So you do believe that she is? It's not just a hype that is not representative of the Swedish audience. Also, you think that she is going to be hard to beat her at this point?
For Melodifestivalen, yes. I mean, it's just her and her vocals. I think the song itself is meh at best, but the vocals really elevate it, and that makes it really stand out. So I totally get why a lot of people really like it. And overall, the year isn't necessarily the strongest, perhaps, either. So I totally get why she's so landsliding ahead of everyone else. And usually with Melodifestivalen, after a bit of time, you kind of know who will win, especially after you've had the semifinals and the odds shift towards a certain song. It's usually going to be one or the second place song, to be honest.
Yeah. I am saying that, yes, I'm pretty sure that Lorraine is going to win. I said in my video that there is a tiny chance. There's a tiny chance that Lorraine will not win the televote, that she'll come second or something like that. There's actually another favorite. However, one thing you can say about Melodifestivalen, this is not for me to poo-poo on it. It's just a reality, especially when you go back in time. Sweden has been fairly predictable in terms of like who wins. When you look at the betting odds, virtually every year, the betting odds favorite wins. And so I anticipate for that to happen, even if Lorraine doesn't win the televote, which I still think she will. I'm just saying in the off chance that she won't, she will just own the international vote, jury vote. There's just no way anybody else. And people on the international juries will love that kind of music. And I do agree. I think I like the song. It's a really good, solid pop song. It's what Lorraine's voice and her staging and the unique aura that she brings to the table, because she's mysterious, right? She has a little bit more of a very unique aura that you don't see in a lot of other acts. And I'm digging that completely. That really elevates the song. Like in the studio version, I'm just like, yeah, that's a fine song. It's on. Yay. But when you watch it live, it's like, okay, I get it. So that what really makes the song to me. So even though it is true, it is not my personal number one. If you watch my video, you know who it is. I can totally see and understand why people gravitate towards it, and it would be a deserving winner in my book. Plus, man, since Sweden is all about age groups and age brackets, because I don't want to be ageist, but I'm thrilled that Lorraine, she's pushing 40, right? That, not always the 16 to 20-year-olds always win. It's nice to see someone that's a little, he's not even old, but older, I guess, compared to some of the other acts, actually still has a chance in Melodifestivalen. And that makes me very, very happy. Roy, again, this is Roy Festivalen. Who should go?
I think it should be, I need to say them correctly because I always mix them up. Marcus and Martinus with Air. I think that song is very fun. It's very nice and modern. I think the staging is phenomenal. I just think that song is the best in Melodifestivalen this year. Just as simple as that. Yeah.
Interesting. Because if you saw my ranking, not you, Roy, clearly you haven't, because otherwise you would have made a comment. You would have known it's not my song. I think I've been 10th out of 12. I just don't like that song at all.
Okay.
Mine is Smash Into Pieces. And I just love that song. I said in the video, this would be potentially my number one this year. Oh, it certainly would be hard to beat. I just love that kind of music. I love it, love it, love it.
Interesting.
And I know somebody said it in the chat, and I'm sorry I didn't put up earlier, but it was not slightly on topic. Oh, there it is again. Sina. Thank you for reposting it. I just was waiting for the right time. Matt, Smash Into Pieces is about to be second in the odds. They just overtook Maria Sur and are about to pass M&M. So that is happy. It's great that is. It's not going to happen, y'all. I know it's nice to see them up, but it will not win Melodifestivalen. Get that out of your mind right now. It's not going to happen. But I'm thrilled. I still think that Smash Into Pieces is going to do really well because it is nice to see a song like that being popular in Sweden, which tends to go more the pop route, right? And this is not for me to put. That's what Swedish people like, and that is what they should send. And clearly, the track record shows it's working. So, so I don't blame them for that. When it comes to my personal taste, I wish they would go different routes, but just looking based on results, they're clearly doing something right. So you want Marcus and Martinez through. I want Smash Into Pieces. And we can talk. Any questions, by the way, about Melodifestivalen in the chat at ESC United? Is there another song that's on your radar, or you sad that didn't make the final?
I really like Kiana's song, actually. Where Did You Go? I know it went through Andra Chansen, but I don't know. I just really liked her energy as well. And she has got a vocal tone that I really, really enjoy. Now, I would rather have her go perhaps with a different song in the next year or something that will be even better, that enhances her voice more, because it is definitely one of those songs you give to a young performer who doesn't have fully developed their identity yet. But
I do like that she actually did a really good job with the lower notes in the beginning, and then, she did really good with that. The song itself, very catered to the younger crowd. Even when you look at the votes, the young crowd, very much giving the high scores, and then as people get older, they're like... So it was very, very interesting. So I hear what you're saying. Real quick, there's a super chat. Thank you so much, Lee Fern. Always supporting us, helps us. Good evening, guys. Hope you both are well. I'm well. Roy, you well?
I'm very well.
Good. I'm off to Sweden for the final for Melodifestivalen. I hate you. Jelly hate. Setting off from Barnsley at 1:05 a.m. Friday morning, and I fully expect Lorraine to win and go to Liverpool. I think that's basically how we all feel at this point. I could only imagine the fan bubble exploding if it's not her. It would be even worse probably than Kaino not making it a couple of years ago. That was already bad, but I think
that was very close, actually.
Well, they were second. They were second place.
Oh, the second time they tried,
the second time when they didn't. No, when they didn't make it to the. They didn't make it. Didn't win MGP in 2021. Yeah, that was a pretty big outrage, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, true. Yeah, and I also want to point out that Smash Two Pieces song. I think it just hinders me that I am already quite a metalhead myself, and I love the verses because you can really hear the raspiness of his voice. And in the chorus, for some reason, that entire raspiness disappears, aka it's either a lot of backing vocals or it is like the entire backing track is like nearly fully singing instead of him. So I'm not the biggest fan of that, but I get why it is very enjoyed by a lot of people. And I'm glad Sweden finally votes for something like that because they always get underappreciated.
Yep, absolutely. I agree. Jonathan is saying, analyst by is Swede. Lorraine will sweep. I know your fans don't trust Sweden, but she's all over social media and normal media. Smash Into Pieces will get top 3. Rock is surprisingly big here. I'm not surprised. I mean, a lot of Nordic, just because Finland is known as the rock metal nation, they have a lot of similarities in music taste. It's just Melodifestivalen is a different animal. If they would invent a different national final in Sweden for specifically Eurovision, I think results could have been quite different there as well. But yeah, I mean, your fans don't trust Swedes. I think most people are convinced that Sweden will win. And I think that is our same analysis here as well. So thank you for sharing your thoughts. We'll have to wait and see right now. So yeah, besides your taste, Roy, is there any other song that you could think could take the win away from Lorraine? Which one's the most likely one? Is it yours, Marcus and Martinez, who is like they're currently in second place in the betting odds?
I think so. It's either, yeah, I mean, Loreen is like the landslide favorite, and I think it's either going to be Marcus and Martinez or Smash Into Pieces that would take it from them. Because Smash Into Pieces is going quite well on Spotify charts, because if I remember correctly, they're like second most streamed in Sweden at the moment. Like, still, Loreen is way above that still in the amount of streams,
Yeah.
but they're doing quite well, so who knows?
I was just about also Joseph Oz or Josephus. Did you see the running order? I was just about to bring that up because that's very important
Yes.
because producers have favorites and they've been pushing songs, and clearly they have been pushing Lorraine, giving her the best
Yeah.
spot in the semis and then giving her a fantastic number 10 in the running order and putting Marcus and Martinez in 4th position. So I'm not saying there is favoritism, except that there is, obviously. And this is, again, nothing against Lorraine because that's not her fault. But it is. And I was going to say something. As much as I love Melodifestivalen, it becomes so predictable what the producers are doing. They completely controlled the semifinal as well.
Yeah.
It is like, look, these are the 4 currently in the lead. So, of course, well, you influence the voters on how they will vote the second time around. Even some people, I know, anecdotal opinions, well, I don't do that. I understand that. But you see that every time people think, well, I need to make sure that Mariette qualifies. And just picking her right randomly. Well, she's already, I'm going to vote for her. Well, Tennessee Tears is not going to win anyway, so why bother? So this is clearly very, very suspicious to me. And then certainly the running order as well. And that's what bothers me. And I'm not saying it's Sweden doing that. The only ones we see it in a lot of countries. But it seems so dramatic here, in my view. I mean, they're giving Jan Henrik the first slot again. They always put him in first.
They just don't want to winning. It's just so obvious now. Like, so many years after each other, like the winner has come from the last semifinal, last spot, and in the grand final is from slot number 10 every single year, nearly, with the exception of last year. And I don't think they expected Cornelia to be that big, really, like received within the community, really. And that's like the song that does it differently than the others that came before it, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so as summarizing, Lorraine, as of right now, clearly the winner, or the expected winner for a reason. I would be shocked if anyone else is going to snag that crown, the tiara, away from here. I feel like that's but we shall see. Again, we can talk about that in a little longer. But before we do so, let's talk Portugal. Portugal had their second semifinal last night as well, until 4 a.m. or whatever it was. They just feel like longer than in previous years. But ultimately, they had 10 songs and then 6 went through. Let's remind ourselves once again, because it's so much fun. These were the songs that were in the running. I messed up again. Jesus Christ. This is what happens when I do it last minute. So that was the first semifinal. So I don't have the running, the 10 songs, unfortunately. So we just got to do it from memory, because that's how we roll. Yeah. So we had the 10 songs, and I will say, with Edmundo, Barbara, Ines, Evandro, Voodoo Marmalade, and Da Punk Sportif going through. The 6 songs that went through were my top 6. And the cool thing is, last week, the top songs were my top songs. So this, to me, Portugal is my...
Someone has been buying SIM cards.
Just a little. I can't... This never happened before. Portugal and I are really in sync. Of course, now the final, they usually pick completely like my 7th favorite in the end, but I am very, very happy about that. So how did you feel about the outcome in Portugal last night?
Yeah, there's one thing I would have changed.
Which one?
I think I was quite biased because I really liked the song going into it from Teresinha Landairo and Cante e Tempo. What a difficult thing to say. Either way, I get why I didn't go through in the first 5. And I mean, I also get why people will go for the Punk Sportif as well. just personally, I quite like that song, and I added it to my playlist, which rarely happens. So I would have liked that one to go through, but it would not have won anyway, I guess. So it's okay.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite in this group?
Like you just mean from the semifinal 2 ones?
Yeah,
Which
this
one?
first semi-2, and then we can go to the finals.
I really liked Ivandro, and I really liked Voodoo Marmalade. I think those two were definitely a league above the other 4 that went through for me.
Okay. Yeah. Mine personal is Edmundo, probably from this semi. I think that one was my number 1. But the other songs that went through are nice, really nice as well. The question is, it sounds like to me, Roy, that your favorite is coming from the first semi.
To be honest, I don't really know. I just think Portugal in general this year is quite strong, but not necessarily like one song that is above the rest, but like the entire bulk of songs is the best. So I feel like every single day I am changing who my favorite is in Portugal. So I really like Ivandro. I think I really like Ivandro. I really like Voodoo Marmalade, but I also really like You Can't Win, Charlie Brown. I really like Sal as well. Turkey would be great too. So there's a lot of food for Roy, to be honest.
No, I think the fan favorite, I mean, on paper right now in the bubble, is Mimi Cat's song.
Yeah.
Do you think that's the one to beat?
I don't know, to be honest. It wouldn't be the one I would pick. I get why the fandom loves it. I don't know if that's necessarily reflective of Portugal, because they often tend to go for different songs than what the fandom really loves. So I don't know if it is the favorite, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. It is my personal favorite, probably. But I was going to say the exact same thing that you just said. Portuguese crowds don't always agree with what the internet wants. I mean, even think back Salvador Sobral. He didn't win the televote in Festival de Canção. So, clearly they made the wrong choice because Salvador Sobral. But yeah, so that's why I'm not convinced. And I know people saying, but she gets a lot of hype right now. That's all well and dandy, but it's also a different audience that watches Festival de Canção. But I would love to have Mimi Cat at Eurovision. It's just a different sound, and I love the energy of the song. And she was actually sick when she performed. She still did amazing. I can only imagine what she's going to sound like in, when she's not sick, hopefully next week. Any questions about Festival de Canção in the chat, by the way? So did you say, Roy, remind me, if this is, again, your national final, who should win next week?
You're making it difficult. I really liked. I can't choose.
All right, then I'm reading the chat first. Mimi Cat, Claudia. It's all about Claudia. Ivandro. So am I saying Inacio really impressed me last night, but he needs to improve his staging. More opinions. There's another Mimi Cat. So it seems as the chat wants a little bit more. Slightly on the Mimi Cat side.
I mean, that's reflective with what the fan favorite is to be. But like, I just really want You Can't Win, Charlie Brown. That would be really good. But I'd also love Viver. I think it was really good staging as well. I just think that with Mimi Cat, I'm not sure if that would qualify in Eurovision, because we already have a lot of up-tempo kind of songs in there. And I'm not sure if this would be the strongest that people would then vote for in Eurovision.
Yeah. I will say, though, what it's done, because it has a different feel for it, because it's not a pop song like the pop tracks. It's a little bit, I wouldn't call it acoustic, but it's a little bit more, a little
100%.
It's not going to compete like with the Cyprus fans or like Word to Lorraine to Win, that kind of genre, and they're all upbeat kind of thing. So it's a different kind of feel. So that's what I'm hoping. Neon Soho, somebody saying Mimi Cat, Claudia and Mimi Cat. I love Ivandro's performance. Felt emotional after this performance. So yeah, I think that most people are thinking that. That is very interesting. So yeah, we shall see. Next week, the last few countries will finally pick, because we don't have that much time. I think by the time the the head of delegation meeting comes around, which I think is on the 13th of March, so in 8 days, they will have to submit their entries. That is the deadline. So by then, all countries have to submit their entry. Now, keep in mind, submitting doesn't mean make it publicly available. Especially Azerbaijan, the past has submitted their song, but has not been made available until like a few days later. And so this may happen again this time around. I'm not sure, but just as a reminder, the next song, at least based on our schedule, that should come out is Switzerland on Tuesday, on the 7th. We also have Austria the following day, as well as Israel, another highly anticipated entry, all internal selections. Then on the 11th, next Saturday, Sweden and Portugal will pick their entries. And then we're still waiting for official announcement from Armenia, Georgia, Greece, Azerbaijan, and the United Kingdom, where we have no information either, which is kind of boring. They could have really used a little bit hyping here, but
I mean, UK has been teasing a few artists, which has been fun to kind of try and dissect, but nothing has really been confirmed.
I think they want to be the last ones. That's my thing. I think they really like, I mean, they usually wait pretty late, but this time around, I think they really just want to be. So I think we can just start a little bit of, let's talk about whatever. At ESC United in the chat, any question that you have that you didn't get to ask earlier, or just in regards to the songs that are coming, Eurovision 1964, if you want to talk about it, by all means, let's do it. Which I would love, actually, but no one's going to ask that. Let's bring up some questions. Emily, I know last week there was a technical voting issue. There were 7 qualifiers. I just wish the producer said we'll put 7 through from semi to for fairness. It is true, but how many songs do you want? That's like 14 now. So I feel I think I just get half anyways. But I think it's again,
6 is already a bit much.
It is. At the same time, I understand it's exposure for the artist. So by all means, so maybe I shouldn't be so meh about it. But as a person just watching it, not invested into like I'm happy for the artist to do well, but it's not like my main priority here. I understand that. Is the UK really aiming for victory this year, given they are so late to declare any word when? I'm sure they want to win. I think
at some point.
Yeah. Keep in mind, France also wants to win, and they announced their song already. So I think UK traditionally always has been really late.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I don't know. Ukraine was the first to announce, so UK will be last to announce, so it bookends. I don't know. I think Azerbaijan likes that title every year. They want to be the last ones. Like I said, they previously submitted it, but nothing released on the website. They didn't do it. It's a little annoying, but especially for us to prep for stuff. But they just like. All right, next question. I'm going to give that to you, Roy, first. What about the Netherlands and Cyprus? What do you think? The Netherlands, your country, sending a ballad, a duet. What was your first impression? Did you put out a reaction video already?
Yes.
I mean, there wasn't a question. I should have said exclamation point. You have already. I saw it. So, yeah.
Did you watch it?
No, I ate it. Yeah, of course I watched it. I was curious what your thoughts are, because I kind of predicted your opinion.
Okay.
And I think I was kind of right. Or like I was lying, but go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's solid. It will definitely have its fans, but it's not necessarily the song that I would necessarily love. And it's just a bit unfortunate that we are now sending a ballad for like another year, like a very sad kind of ballad. Like, we have fun in the Netherlands too, guys. Come and visit. It's okay. It will probably do well. I think it has a good chance at qualification, especially because there aren't that many ballads in the first semifinal. Juries will maybe be a bit difficult. I think this is really a song that you really need to perform live as well. Like live, you can really change someone's opinion and really make it come alive. And I think that's when I really will start to click with me as well. As a studio version, it's okay. I wouldn't necessarily listen to it though.
I'm kind of in the same boat as you. Right now, my prediction is, will they qualify? I don't know. It comes down, this is a make or break live performance, because I think this song was really meant to be performed live, especially. Not saying it's a bad studio version. It's not, but again, I'm not gravitating towards it. But I can see this one being a real moment. But yeah, it has every chance to flop as well. I don't think it's Netherlands, because Netherlands has been fairly safe for the most part in terms of qualification for so many years. And this is the first year in quite a while where I'm just like, I'm not quite sure yet. And others are like, yeah, of course, Netherlands is through. Duh. Here, I'm not quite as confident yet. That being said, I think I'm more leaning towards yes than no. Real quick about Cyprus, Roy? Doesn't seem like he
Again,
had
this will really depend on whether he can hit those notes or not. If he can hit those notes, they'll have an amazing result. If he struggles with them, they will struggle probably. So it's one of those songs that you really need to wait and see how good he is live. What I remember from Ozzy Decides is that he wasn't necessarily the most amazing vocalist live, but he didn't sing a ballad either. So it's a bit of a different way to
Yes.
perform your song. So I don't know. It's a cool concept. I hope he can deliver it.
it's a very big risk. I did see like a TikTok snip of him singing a part, and like it sounded amazing. I'm like, oh, wow, if he hits it like
Okay.
that, perfect. But that's a selected clip, you know, where you feel like I hit it, I nailed this note. Consistency, you cannot redo it live, you know. And then I remember, and these are high notes that can really take a strain on your vocals. I remember I felt so bad in 2019. Was that when Sergei Lazarev returned? And they scream, you know, he had that really high note, like that, and he hit it in the first rehearsals, and then his voice started cracking. And as the live shows came around, he didn't go for the really big high note, and because he just couldn't hit it anymore. Something similar happened with Jessica Malboy in Australia. She, the first rehearsal, she gave it 189%, and she was having fun, and she hit it, and then it went downhill from there. Right, her voice got worse and worse. So that what it comes down. He needs to be careful not overdoing it, but I think he has a really good shot because I think it's a pretty darn good song. All right, more questions at ESC United in the chat. Let's say Lorraine wins. Who do you think has the biggest chance to win ESC with all the countries now? Put your personal taste aside, Roy. Put your I'm an objective person hat on.
Okay,
Who do you think has the best chance of winning Eurovision as of right now?
Finland.
You still think Finland? Because they are now number 2 in the betting odds. You don't think that the juries... No, that's good. They're climbing. They're going up. You don't think that the juries could potentially put a stop to that?
Yeah, I could definitely see it happening. I just think this is going to be kind of what Ukraine did in 2020 with Shum, basically. But also last year, even. I mean, Ukraine got a whole lot of points from the televote or jury. Televote, yeah.
Yeah, like 250 or something like that, yeah.
Maybe not to that extent, but with Shum, for example, I think it could get something like that. And I don't know, he delivers it quite well, and I could see the juries going for it as well. And Shum wasn't that far off winning.
No, that is true, but the problem is this. I can easily see Finland getting a second place, actually. The problem is winning the contest. I mean, there could be a completely upside-down vote between juries and televotes, and you can easily win coming 7th with the juries. But usually, from what we see, you have to get at least like 4th place with the juries, or like at least close to 200 points, right? Or 175, or something like that. Yes, there is a universe where it could go completely crazy, and it will be enough to get less points. But that's how I approach my thinking. Can Finland get 175 to 200 points from the juries? And that is my concern. I wasn't sure about Italy either initially in 21 when they won. They did make it, and that's the reason why they ended up winning. If it wasn't for that, they wouldn't have won, because France was right behind them. So that's how I kind of approach it. That's why I'm not completely sure. But looking at what's out there right now, I don't know who would beat Finland. Do you know what I mean? Because you need to look at juries. What will the juries like? What will the televoters like? And is there like a common friend there?
I think the opposite of Finland at the moment would be Spain. Like that would be a big magnet for the jury vote, but maybe not as much with the televote. And I think a bit more of a middle ground would be Norway at the moment. I think those are really that jump to mind where I could see, okay, they could go for a win as of right now with the songs that we have.
Yeah, I actually was you spoiled it for me. I was going to say, actually, don't count out Norway completely.
No.
Norway has jury and televote appeal. And when people don't talk about it as much, even though they were like 3rd or 4th in the betting odds right now, but not much talk about. This has actually already been played in the US.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, not like in Australia, but there are clips out there on YouTube, like people talked about it. Especially in the political scene, randomly enough, like a political candidate that kind of used it, and then it kind of spread a little. And so I could see this one actually being quite a surprise. Could they pull like a Kino and actually surprise win the televote? It's not out of the world, but the difference is, I think King of Queens, Queens of Kings, I think has more.
She's got some jury
appeal.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. Like, I think there is something there. I don't
think
want to
she
go to
might
Norway.
even-
I mean, Liverpool was expensive, you think?
Oh,
Go to
God.
Norway. I couldn't afford McDonald's. So yeah, it was pretty bad. So, but the best song should win, of course.
I could even see Norway getting more points from the juries than from the televote.
Say one more time. I'm sorry.
I could even see Norway getting more points from the jury vote than from the televote, because she
I
hit
see a
some
world
big
that
notes in
happening.
that song.
She could maybe pull a Netherlands, Duncan Lawrence, like third, second kind of thing. I could, and win
Yeah,
after all.
exactly.
Yeah, I could absolutely see that. But
Yeah.
we still have some competition out there, so that next week we could have a very different outcome. So we shall see. Let's see some other questions here. Sabrina is saying, I think it's safe to say a northern country will win if you count the odds together. It's already more than 50%. Do you agree? So when we talk about Nordic countries, of course, right now, I don't think Denmark and Iceland are in the competition there. It would be then Finland,
No.
Sweden, and Norway. Is that a fair thing to say? I think we could potentially see another Nordic win this year.
Yeah, I think they're definitely in the picture of top 5 countries that could end up winning, like chance-wise, basically.
Yeah.
I can definitely see it happen.
Yeah, I was just so there's another comment. Alex is saying, according to Finnish media, there should be a change of pace for juries this year. They would vote for songs mostly on their memorability. They voted this way for UMK, apparently. Thoughts?
Yeah.
I don't know if that is a criteria that I would be comfortable with, because then you penalize more, what's the best word? Creative, daring, melodic progression that may not be as catchy or like immediately hook thing, but a little bit more deeper. And I don't know, then we get maybe more of that. Let's get catchy music. And I don't know if that is the right way to do it. I understand what they're saying, but I think there should be more to it.
They just like rephrased what they usually say. Like usually they say, oh, look for the vocals, look for how well it's produced and stuff. And they kind of changed it a bit, that they didn't necessarily include vocals that much in there. It was more about memorability. So yeah, it seems like they're trying to change it a little bit. But I mean, it's still the juries. They're gonna do their own thing, I guess. So
yeah, I mean,
write down what you want.
There was enough disagreement there to see that they were not completely on the same page. Was very interesting, especially the UK jury. They were not having it in Finland. They had a little bit upside down vote. Will the international vote that's being introduced this year change public voting in comparison to last year's, meaning that the winners is not that predictable?
I mean, it's just 12 points.
Exactly, it's just one set of votes.
Yeah.
It would be kind of weird because people would be pissed if that like a country wins by 5 points or so, and then it's caused by the international vote. People will be like, "What? It's Brazil's fault." So it's so it's going to be something like that. So yeah, I don't think it's going to have a major impact. It's just getting people engaged.
Yeah.
If you live in a non-Eurovision country, that is exciting, right? You're like, oh my God, I get to be part of the vote. Yet it is fairly insignificant. It's not going to, unlikely, maybe it could potentially affect one qualifier. That I think I can see, but I think in the bigger picture, it is very insignificant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next question. I don't know what it is, so whatever it is, you're going to answer, Roy. Worst case scenario as a Finn is we end up like Fulin, hyped and loved by some, but mainly ESC fanatics, not mainstream. We both have the toxic green also. I love the toxic green. Roy, I know that you said that it could win, but could you see a France 2022 situation here?
Absolutely no shot. I don't think that is in the cards at all. It's France was just a bit too dark. It was just a bit. It just didn't fit in the lineup of songs. The staging didn't work out. It just everything kind of worked against them. And Finland has the mass appeal. Like I've shown it to a few friends here and there, and a lot of people love it. I showed it to my mom and she loved it. So yeah, it has its broad appeal. I don't think
I
Finland
always
is
said
in
that
it.
Finland is overrated and is one of my least favorites. I don't think it's going. I still think it's not going to qualify. I think people will wake up. I'm kidding. I love that song. I just wanted to see Roy's face.
I was about to book a flight to your
No, I
place,
love it.
and
I agree with everything you said, Roy. Actually, I think it has an oddly mainstream appeal
yeah,
for a song that is not that mainstream, and that
Yeah.
is rare. And I think Finland really has something special there. And I'm not saying it's a guaranteed winner, but I would not worry about the France result.
No.
Absolutely not. Real quick here, thank you again, Lee Fern, for another donation because of the fantastic coverage you give to every one of us. Finland is my number one. Honestly, I can't see any other country beating Finland right now. Keep being fantastic. We'll do that. Whoop. And I really appreciate your support. As you know, the EBU makes us recovering our costs very difficult this year, kind of aiming at the fan media. Hopefully, we'll come up with other ways to recover the costs that we are facing. So this is certainly very helpful. Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, I'm still, waiting for all the songs before I say who's going to win. Again, the jury still make me nervous. Turkey has a hugely missed participation. I believe their votes might elevate some countries. I mean, I just miss Turkey. Miss Turkey, right? They always bring a unique flavor to the contest, but I don't see them returning anytime soon. Do you?
No, but I get what this person's saying. Like, I could really see, because if I heard correctly from somebody who is from Turkey, a lot of people in Turkey still really like Eurovision. So maybe the Turkish people could dominate that vote from outside of Eurovision countries.
Oh, they're talking about the international vote. Got
Yeah,
it.
exactly. That's really interesting to think about.
Well, it's very interesting because we'll find out. We can see what the international vote, because if it really was Turkey giving the votes, we should expect high results for Azerbaijan, right? They usually voted for Azerbaijan. If Azerbaijan gets 12 points, I mean, we don't know the song, so it's also very difficult. But let's say Azerbaijan sends a song that is maybe not kind of like what last year was, not like super crazy with the televoters, but still wins the international vote.
Azerbaijan allegedly is doing something totally different than they did the last 10-ish years. Like, usually they like buy or like hire Swedish songwriters to write a song for them. And this year they said, we want Azerbaijani songwriters only. So we don't even know what Azerbaijan's going to do this year, to be honest. And I'm really excited for it.
Yeah. Well, Eurovision is also very popular in some South American countries. So maybe they will vote for Spain. I do know that people I see countries like Venezuela, Colombia, they talk about Eurovision quite a bit. Can you see like a little love for Spain in the international?
Yeah, definitely. I think it could just be a mix of some random countries that you don't necessarily think about that really love Eurovision that can't vote. So like, I just think this is a very lovely thing that they did. Just have a little vote. It's not impacting that much, but it is still impact, and the people will feel more involved, and it just helps grow the brand to even more countries.
You need to be, if you give people the opportunity to be active rather than just passive, that's going to make a huge difference. I don't know if they will build on that at some point, but I think this is definitely a pretty good step that they've taken.
Yeah.
What do you think that there have been so many threatened lawsuits this year? Malta, Greece, and now Moldova. I haven't even heard about Moldova yet. Have you heard about the Moldovan lawsuit?
I haven't heard about a lawsuit, but I have heard some rumors that the guys from Sunstroke Project were not too happy that Pasha won, and that they said that they didn't know that there were backing singers allowed and stuff. They were just bitter, basically. But I didn't know about any lawsuit, to be honest.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. I knew about Greece. Greece was very hush-hush. We don't know why that other artist was doing it. There must have been some contractual things, maybe. I don't know. And Malta seemed a little ridiculous to me. That was, I think, just sour grapes there. And I'm not even saying that was Aiden who got disqualified because he posted on social media. I'm not saying he has no grounds to be annoyed or upset about it, but from a legal perspective, it seemed a little far-fetched. I mean, I don't know the laws in Malta, so I cannot speak. I'm thinking very American here. But because we love to sue people, right? So I guess Europe, you're catching up at last. But
I mean, the Greek thing is kind of scary.
That's what they're talking about, but how scary is it? We don't know that much.
No, but like the thing is, they had like a public kind of vote thingy, and like girl didn't win and it looked very shady. And if she sues them, there's like a law in Greece that you need to give it at least this amount of time to have that case being done. And then there's not enough time for Eurovision anymore. So that's a bit dangerous, perhaps.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. It would be really awkward. That would be quite a lot of.
It would be really weird, to be honest. Like, that would just mean that you could just, when you lose or something, you could just do a lawsuit and then make sure nobody goes from your country. That's a bit weird.
I know that is a little weird. Well, more to come on that, hopefully. But I'm not. I don't think it's. I don't want to play Doomsday just yet because then we only have 36 countries. May as well just have one show now. Which unreleased songs are you most looking forward this week? As a reminder, then real quick, let me bring up the list. I'm using my hand, but this is not a touch screen. I'm so stupid. Okay. It's not working. We have. So Portugal. We don't know what song, but we know the song, so we're going to put that one aside. We don't know Azerbaijan yet. We don't know Israel yet.
We have heard a bit of a snippet, perhaps.
I have not listened to anything yet, so I'm trying to say about snippets. Armenia.
Yes.
Greece. I know that was apparently a leak or something. I don't listen to those. Austria, Georgia, and
Azerbaijan.
UK. The UK.
Yeah.
So those are the ones. I think I know your answer, Roy. So I'll let you go first. Which one out of these are you like especially looking forward to?
Now I want to know what you would pick for my answer.
You want me to tell you?
Yeah.
Georgia.
Let me grab my flag here. Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
And honestly,
I'm really looking forward to Georgia, especially because she seems to be wanting to take it very seriously, and she's a great vocalist as well. So I'm really excited to see what Georgia brings this time around. And Georgia in the final is very necessary again. Like, I know Georgia will do what Georgia wants to do, but it would be cool to have them in the finals.
I am surprised because maybe there's some inside knowledge, and she did drop a little, but she's still in the top 10 of the betting odds. So Georgia in the betting odds top 10, even though we don't even have a song yet. Do people? I'm not sure if that's just some person that was very had big balls and went just like, yep, or there is more to it. But yeah, I will agree with you. I'm looking forward. I mean, I'm looking forward to all of them, but I'm especially interested in Georgia just because we want them back in the finals, and I'm curious why it is so high up in the betting odds.
It might be because some betting people don't know anything about Eurovision. They just look at statistics and they look at facts why a song could win. It could be because she has already won Junior Eurovision before as well, and now she also won The Voice. So like she already won quite a few things here and there. So maybe they think it might translate to Eurovision as well.
Maybe, but based on the track record, it should be at the bottom. You know what I mean? In terms of Eurovision.
Yeah, true.
It is kind of funny. What's your opinion about the amount of leaks happening this year? So I know that which one leaked? I think it was Greece leaked initially, right?
Nearly everything has leaked this year.
I feel so out of the loop because I stay deliberately away from any leak conversation and stuff because I don't want it. Who else leaked?
We've had a snippet from Austria.
We did? Okay.
Yeah, like leaking. There's this account on Twitter called Crystal Ball ESC, and it must be some insider from the EBU or something that posts that, but that's just speculation. We're not going to go into that. The entire lineup of Sanremo, like all the names were leaked. I think the entire lineup of Sweden was leaked, all of the names. They were leaking all the Danish songs as well. I think Spain, the entire lineup was leaked as well. There's been a lot of leaks, like even weeks before actually things were really announced. So it's a bit much. I try to stay away from it as far as possible, but sometimes you just kind of can't avoid it anymore, which is unfortunate because it kind of ruins the fun for me. I don't like leaks.
Yeah, I don't like leaks either, and they are forbidden on ESC United and most reputable outlets because, it's just... I remember sometimes we have a forum on ESC United, people posted the links, and then I get contacted by the delegations. Can you take this down? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And you'll get banned. So don't do it. It's against the rules.
Yes.
Roy, it's a question for you.
Oh.
What is your opinion on Gladiator and Poland's entry this year?
I think Gladio was okay. It wasn't necessarily that out of the league that people say it is necessarily. I think it would have been a better pick than what they went for in the end, though, because Blanca in that live performance wasn't necessarily that amazing, let's say it like that. So Gladiator would have been a bit more interesting, but I'm not sure if that would have gotten the sky high ending result that a lot of people think it would have gotten. But I quite like it. It's a fun song. Yeah.
Did you have a favorite?
It was the other one. I need to look that up real quick. What was it? Cuba or something? The one that got third, I think.
I don't even remember.
Yeah, it's whatever.
It's been so long. Feels like Cuba, you do me.
I meant Dominic Dudek, actually.
Oh, okay.
Close enough. Close enough.
Yes, it's identical almost. Dominic, yeah, that was my other favorite as well. So
Yeah.
if I was Team Gladiator, but if it's not Gladiator, I'd be okay with Dominic. That would be my two choices. It's funny because remember in the beginning, Roy, of this season, because Roy and I would always want to strongly disagree in taste. And last year we had so many agreements that we started out really badly this year that we didn't agree on much. And now I feel like it's merging again to like we do agree quite a bit. And it's highly traumatizing.
There's probably still a lot of songs that we disagree on, though.
Yeah, I mean, there will be songs, but I want to be opposite. I want your top 5 be my bottom 5. And that is just not happening right now.
I mean, you hated a song from Portugal that I loved, so that was good.
Was it the Too Much Sauce?
Yes, too much sauce, too much sauce. It was even that quite good live. I was surprised. Yeah, I had a good fun with that.
I'm glad that's out. Okay, we do a couple more questions here. I believe Lorraine will win the jury vote in the ESC final, and she will get high enough in the televote for a win. It's too early for me to go this far.
still
We
needs
don't
to
even
win
know all of the
Belfast.
songs. Yeah, I still feel Sweden tends, even when they win, they still do much better with the juries than with the televote. Same applies for Lorraine. She barely won the televote in 2012. Barely, like by a few points. The Russian grannies were right behind it. And in 2015, the kid didn't even win. They came in like a distant third. But yeah, if Sweden wants to win, they need a good jury win for sure. That doesn't mean they can't win the televote because, if they're good, they're good. But yeah, they usually get that nice little boost. Can we definitely rule out Italy for a victory? Roy, do you think Italy has a chance?
If we know the song.
Well, it's most likely going to be what it is at this point. He still mentioned it, but I don't think
confirmed.
I know, but I'm pretty sure he's not going to change it.
If it is this song, I don't think it is winning. It could get a good result, though. I think a top 10 is definitely on the cards then.
Yeah,
but I don't think
it's a winning song either. But I think it is a very nice and a song that people just love that kind of Italian music. And that's real. Marco has a fantastic voice and a great performer, so I anticipate that he's going to elevate that song even more. I mean, I love that song, but I'm just saying in terms of results, I think that is. And this is a good point here that I want to bring up as well. I'm so sick of hate towards Blanca for TVP's mistake. Also sick of Polish fans infiltrating every comment, these threats complaining to disqualify Blanca. It's not going to happen. Let it go. I will say it's not just Poland. I get that every year if even when your favorite wins, I get, for some reason, on my Swedish video, I got this whole thing about the Serbian infiltrating it. They're still back from their high, excitement, like, who cares about Sweden? Serbia will win. I'm like, this is not about Serbia. I noticed that. It happens every year. It's not just a Polish thing, but right now I understand there's a lot of anger out there. It reminds me a little bit of 21, right? When it shows that internal song where people were not happy. I will agree, aim your anger towards the broadcaster, leave the artist out of it. And some people are saying that Blanca was in bed with them, I cannot confirm or deny it, but just for this, it's just, I don't necessarily like that either, because I'll be the first one to criticize the broadcaster as well, what they have done, how they changed the rules last minute so that they can make sure that their song doesn't go through. And yes, speculation, conspiracy, but I think based on the facts that we've known, I think it's pretty evident. How do you feel, Roy?
Yeah, it's always going to be shady when you last minute change your your voting system. But hey, Australia did it as well last year with Voyager, and then Voyager came back with an even better song this year. So perhaps they will be next year like, oh, they love Jan so much. Maybe next year he'll come with that way.
The problem is what people are saying, and I can only listen to people who are, and it's true what I know. Poland's broadcaster is fairly conservative, right-wingy kind of thing, and they wouldn't probably feel comfortable having a goth twink. Go to Eurovision and that. Look, it seems a little bit out of their comfort zone. So I think it would be a lot more difficult for him to win over the broadcast unless there are major changes done at the top of the the chain there. So so that
it's just shady.
It's just unfortunate. Yeah, I think I know Blanca is actually a song. It's very simple. I think it's actually quite catchy, but it's certainly nothing compared to what Gladiator could have been. And even if let's just say I would have liked Solo better, which let's just put that out there, it still would have felt wrong. I still would have been like, okay, so I think that's what we all have for today. So thank you everyone for coming. We'll be back next Sunday. We would do it on Saturday night, but it's again Portugal's national final, and they go until 6 a.m. And I don't think anybody wants to do a live stream, so we'll be back next Sunday for our next show. So thank you for coming in, and I'll see you all then. Good night.
Bye.